Welcome to the dynamics of everyday life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Victoria Wood. How the world misses her comic genius. And the line, "Don't bother, Ken, I'll do it myself," delivered by the wonderful Julie Walters, speaks to us in a million different ways. Because even if you've never seen the family planning sketch, and if you haven't, I really suggest you look it up on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. You know the energy that I'm talking about here. The sigh, the martyrdom, the irritation. The implication that Ken is fundamentally useless, and also the strange satisfaction in being the competent one. Even if we don't like to admit it, we've all felt it. Because this usually isn't about the task itself. It's about everything that's bound up in it. When you think about it, it's not about loading the dishwasher, booking the holiday, organising the birthday, following up with school, or carrying the emotional admin load. It's about what these things mean, how they've built up, and the way that they play out in our everyday dynamics. Competence can easily become part of our personality. Competent people are often those who are reliable, capable, emotionally perceptive, the one that everyone turns to, and very good in a crisis. But look underneath that competence, and what you might find is the thought, it's safer not to need too much from other people. Because maybe when you've looked to someone else, what you've actually been met with is disappointment or unpredictability. And that's meant that you've had to learn to grow up emotionally quickly, or that needing other people felt risky, frustrating, or shaming. So what happens? Well, you don't go there anymore. Doing everything yourself starts to feel safer than depending on someone else. Being the capable one and carrying everything starts to feel safer than the anxiety of looking to other people for reassurance. And then that's what you portray to the world. And yet, there's a hidden irony here. Because the people who say, "Don't bother, I'll do it myself," they're actually the ones who desperately want someone else to notice, to step in, to insist that they can help, or to understand without having to have it spelt out to them. But they don't do that because asking directly can feel a bit needy, a bit exposing, maybe uncomfortable or too vulnerable. So instead, there's often a bit of an unspoken test. If you really cared, you'd notice that I'm struggling, despite putting on what can be Oscar-winning performances to the contrary. And this is where resentment can start to fester. It's where we become a bit of a nightmare to ourselves. We want help, and yet, because we've been disappointed before, we don't ask for it. And over-functioning affects relationships. Think about it. If someone corrects help, takes over tasks, restacks the dishwasher muttering, "It's just easier if I do it," whilst sighing theatrically, basically communicating that they are the only capable one here, then eventually other people will stop trying. Not because they're lazy, well, maybe they are, but that's not the only reason. It's because sometimes it's what they've been trained into. And, to quote the bard, there's the rub. Because sometimes people accidentally create the very aloneness that they're trapped in. Whoever said being human was easy? Now, there is a benefit to all of this. It's not just a weird psychological game that we find ourselves trapped in. There is absolutely a payoff in being the competent one. What do I mean by that? Well, you get to be needed, admired, maybe sometimes morally superior, indispensable, and in control. You also get things the way that you want them to be. Want your holiday a certain way? Well, if you take on the planning, then chances are you'll get what you want. Honestly, from a psychological point of view, it's quite the package. And on top of that, you never have to experience vulnerability, dependency, letting people see your limitations, or the possibility that someone might let you down. So, I'll do it myself can become both protection and prison. And it's exhausting. Because the people who live in I'll do it myself mode are often carrying far more than other people realise. They're terrible at recognising their own limits and uncomfortable receiving care. Possibly furious that nobody notices how much they actually do, even unconsciously. This might be something they struggle to admit to themselves. Any of this sounding familiar? Over time, it becomes exhausting to continually be the organiser, the responsible one, the emotional adult, and the one who remembers everything. There's also a strange invisibility that comes with competence too. The more capable you are, the less people check whether you are okay or not. And when you do drop a ball, instead of concern, there's often shock or disappointment that you aren't running everything as smoothly as you always have done. There's an incredibly painful double bind here. If I stop doing everything, things might fall apart. But if I keep doing everything, then I become resentful and alone. And that's the real trap. So what do we do with all of this? Now, this isn't about suddenly becoming helpless overnight. In no way am I suggesting that you drape yourself dramatically over a chaise longue in manner of a fainting Victorian invalid and wait for someone to revive you with smelling salts and a cup of sweet tea. This is not about being less capable, because most capable people would rather cut their own arms off than not get things done. Even on their deathbed, they'd still be saying, "Leave it, I'll sort it." This is about becoming more relational. And there are a few practical ways that we can do this. As always, awareness is key. It's not everything, but it's a very good first step. So, notice where you automatically take over, especially before anyone else has failed. A lot of "I'll do it myself" happens at the first sign of discomfort, slowness, or imperfection, which means that no one else gets a chance to become competent. Then the tricky bit. Instead of the usual, "Don't worry, I'll do it," try, "Some help with this would be great, thank you," which sounds incredibly simple, unless your nervous system hears direct need as danger and goes on full alert. Then, the next hardest bit. Let people do things differently. Now, before you weep in a corner at this, I am not saying let people do things badly. I'm saying differently. Because sometimes the issue isn't nobody helps me, it's nobody helps me in exactly the way that I would do it. Now, this might be the point where you work out your actual non-negotiables. I'm fairly germ-phobic, so there are certain things I genuinely would rather clean myself, for example, after handling raw meat. But do I care how someone hoovers? Honestly, not remotely. Miss a corner, I'll survive. And pay attention to any resentment that builds up, because that's where the useful information is. It's not always that other people are terrible. It's sometimes that you haven't expressed a need. Maybe you're overcommitted, or you're trying to earn care through usefulness. Maybe even you're exhausted. We think we're open books, but people are not mind readers, and most aren't willfully trying to take advantage of you. Resentment is often what happens when needs go underground. And culturally, we can be quite British about this too. We don't necessarily talk about our needs, so they get ignored and hidden away. Strength doesn't have to mean permanent emotional self-sufficiency, even though it might seem like it at times. Being the person who holds everything together can look very impressive from the outside, but it can also become a very lonely place to live. Perhaps the real challenge isn't learning how to do everything yourself. Perhaps it's learning that you don't always have to. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.